to our conversations today. And I indeed must thank you so much for making the time. My name is Wisdom Chap Jumbo, and I'll be your master of ceremony today, just to guide the conversations and lead us into a fruitful deliberations today to at least learn one or two things as it concerns environment. So this is the private sector dialogue on driving environmental stewardship. This topic comes at the heart, of many of us because the environment is indeed very important. And this dialogue, some of the conversations we'll be having today are critical to open up our minds to, what is indeed happening around sustainability and environment, which I think is itself very critical as we commemorate with the World Environmental Day of 2025, which was just on June 5th. So I think we're still in June, and perfectly good timing also to keep talking about sustainability and environment. Before we get into the conversations for the day, while we of course just give time for a few of our panelists to walk in, they're a couple of minutes away. If you permit me, I would like to pull your mind into a little conversations. Of course, maybe let's play something real quick so that we can set the tune for the conversations we'll be having today. And if you permit me, the team is behind. They are going to show some codes on the screen, but I'd like you to pull up your phones. I'm sure many of us have used Mentimeter before. We have a few activity we just want to start so that we can, set the tune for the day, for the conversations we'll be having, as well as we formally start the event shortly. So yes, please help me. Just bring your phones so that we can look at some of this real quick. All right, do you want to show the Mentimeter codes? We want to check the pulse in the room and know your perspectives, know your priorities, and maybe your even pain points when it comes to driving sustainability and environmental stewardship in your organizations. So, yes, okay, the code's on the screen. It's anonymous completely. And we just want to understand what you're thinking this morning as we're here for this important conversation. All right. Have we all gotten that? You can just scan the code with your phone, or you can use the link and the code on your screen. When you're ready, let me know so we can kick it open. Are we all ready? Okay, we're still checking. If we should wait for you, can I see your hand? Okay, 3. Okay, I see 4 hands. We can wait for you for the next 30 seconds. Okay, are we all good now? If we should still wait for you, can I see your hand? No hands? All right. Okay. Since no hands, everybody is logged on. Can we move now to the next? We just want to check the pulse in the room. Just know where your mind's at, and then we'll kickstart. All right, team, can we proceed? We're waiting for you. Gloria? Okay, do we have an issue? We should come back? Okay. Okay, fantastic. So the first question is, in one word, what does environmental stewardship mean to you? Again, this is checking the pulse and just setting the tune for the day, just to get, what your mind is thinking. So you can see that on your phones also. So just enter your response in one word. Can we show it up on the screen? Fantastic. Okay, somebody already wrote the sentence. All right, in one word, let's see. I think everyone logged on. So let's get more responses to it. I don't see anybody one showing. Gloria, is it our fault or? You don't see it? It's not working? Oh, okay. All right. Okay, if it's not working, I think okay. They said it's not working, so they can't. We can't what? Do you see it? We can't respond. Okay, Gloria, maybe we need to sort it out. Check it. But what we wanted to do with that was indeed get your responses, maybe in one word, what you're thinking about. Should try it now? Okay. All right. I'm getting signal that we can try it now. Let's see. So should they scan the code again or? Okay, they should scan the code again. Okay. So sincere apologies. Let's try it one more time. Let's see. Okay. So scan the code or use the link. Scan the QR code or use the link and the code on the screen. It's not working. Okay. All right. All right. I think everybody seemed not to be able to access it. But what I wanted to do with that is to help us have an opener to the conversation and just sort of check the pulse in the room. Please, we can come to the front seats, please. There are seats in front here. We have been waiting for you since, sir. Welcome, sir. Yes. So what we wanted to do with that was to set the tone for the conversation on just getting your mind on environmental sustainability, really. Nigeria faces, many environmental challenges, from plastic pollution to inadequate waste management, also to deforestation and oil spills and several flooding. There was rains a couple of days ago, and we can see on the media what that is doing, in many areas. These issues are fundamental, and they have fundamental impact on our path to sustainability. But today, our dialogue at this event, sets the tone for a crucial platform to be able to, that strategic and coordinated, action within the private sector. And that's why we've invited you here. Emphasizing really, and that's part of what we are going to be doing today, on innovation in sustainable solutions. What are some of those innovations we can look at when we talk about sustainable solutions and driving development across the value chain as a private sector? So those tangible, meaningful, and impactful contributions that directly, help us or serves us as a nation. And we can look at Nigeria's national determined contribution, and broader environmental stewardship. What can we really do as a private sector in this area? What can be that action? When I have some of these events, I like to look at action. What action can we take? And usually after that, for me, is how do we track it? as a private sector, what can really be our contribution? Because these issues affect us whether we like it or not. So I want you to really be open-minded to our conversation today. It's going to be more interactive, and I appeal that we also do our best to also be part of the conversation really, and see how we can benefit from it greatly. The agenda is packed full with, I think I've looked at it. The conversations will be fruitful to every one of us. And at the end of the day, we're hopeful that leads us into, quite an exciting day. And we want to thank our sponsors, our supporters who have made sure that this event happens. If you would join me, please put a round of applause for IHS Towards Nigeria. We are indeed grateful for their support to the Global Compact Network Nigeria, who has put this together for us to be here. I will also, move forward now quickly as we want to have the welcome remarks, of the Executive Director of the UN Global Compact Network, Mrs. Naomi Nwokolo.
Good morning.
Yes, she wishes to be here, but she also another business, but she sent in her video. That's how important it is. And please, just a minute, let's listen to her before we get the day started. Thank you.
Good morning, distinguished members of the United Nations Global Compact Network Nigeria, our guests, partners, and friends present. It is an honor to welcome you to today's private sector dialogue on environmental stewardship in partnership with IHS Towers as we come together to commemorate World Environment Day 2025. This year's theme, putting an end to plastic pollution, challenges us to take urgent, decisive action to address one of the most pressing environmental crises of our time. Plastic pollution has reached alarming levels, threatening our oceans, wildlife, and ecosystems. The message is clear. We cannot afford to delay any longer in our efforts to tackle plastic waste. Today's dialogue provides a timely platform to discuss how the private sector can take the lead in this critical issue. Business have a role to play, undoubtedly, not only in minimizing their own plastic footprints, but also in driving innovative solutions to reduce plastic waste across industries. It is through the actions and leadership of the private sector that we will see real, sustainable change in how plastics are produced, used, and disposed of. Permit me to reflect on the just concluded UN Ocean Conference held in Nice, France last week, where world leaders, experts, and advocates united around the need for stronger commitments to protect and restore our oceans. The conference underscored the urgency of addressing plastic pollution in our oceans, which continues to be one of the most significant threats to marine life and biodiversity. Plastic waste, especially single-use plastics, has become a pervasive problem, with millions of tons of plastic entering the ocean yearly. The conference highlighted that we cannot afford to view plastic pollution as an isolated issue, as it is intrinsically linked to the broader environmental crisis, impacting climate change, biodiversity, and human health. One of the key outcomes of the conference that I'd like to share was a renewed call for global action to address plastic waste through comprehensive, sustainable policies, improved waste management practices, and the development of innovative circular solutions. Now, this is where the private sector must step in. The private sector has been tasked to go beyond compliance and become active champions of environmental stewardship, driving innovation in packaging, product design, and recycling. The UN Ocean Conference was a pivotal moment that reinforces the need for all stakeholders to come together, which includes governments, civil society, and importantly, the private sector, to work collectively to end plastic pollution. As we look ahead to COP30 in Berlin, it is clear that this issue will continue to be central to global climate and environmental conversations. The private sector must lead by example, reduce reliances on single-use plastics, and continue to invest in alternatives and improve your waste management practices to prevent plastic pollution. At the United Nations Global Compact Network Nigeria, we are proud to work alongside businesses that are committed to environmental stewardship. I'd like to share two key initiatives that we are leading at the UN Global Compact: the Climate Ambition Accelerator and the Spark Initiative. These programs are providing companies with the tools and resources they need to integrate sustainability into their core operations, and both have direct relevance to addressing the plastic pollution issue. The Climate Ambition Accelerator has helped companies to set bold climate targets and align their operations with global climate goals. Businesses that are involved in this program are also exploring how they can reduce plastic use, develop alternative materials, and integrate circular economy principles into their business models. Similarly, the Spark initiative have continued to empower small and medium enterprises to adopt sustainability practices. We know SMEs are critical players in addressing plastic pollution, and through our Spark initiative, we are helping SMEs to transition to more sustainable business models that reduce plastic waste, use recycled materials, and improve their waste management systems. Businesses are proving that environmental stewardship is not just a moral obligation, it is a business imperative. We have also collaborated with the Office of the National Council on Climate Change to work with our businesses to contribute to NDC 3.0 as we look forward to COP30. Looking forward, it is clear that addressing plastic pollution will require collaborative action from all sectors, government, business, and communities alike. The private sector dialogue is an essential part of that effort, and that is why today's discussion is an opportunity for us to explore how business can be a part of the solution to foster environmental stewardship that includes ending plastic pollution and other environmental challenges. I would like to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude to IHS Towers, whose leadership and commitment to sustainability continues to be an inspiration. Through this partnership, we are able to engage businesses and stakeholders across Nigeria and Africa to take concrete steps towards environmental responsibility. Thank you for the spirit of partnership and for your dedication to building a sustainable future. In closing, I urge all of us here today to reflect on the role your business can play in protecting the environment. Together, we can make a real difference, not only for our environment, but for the long-term sustainability of your businesses. Let this dialogue be a springboard for action as we work towards a future where plastic pollution is no longer a threat to our oceans, our ecosystems, and our planet. Thank you once again for your commitment to this journey, and I look forward to the fruitful discussions ahead. Thank you.
Please, round of applause for our Executive Director. Thank you so much. How can you support and how can you contribute to this conversation today? Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to formally welcome you to this private dialogue. Before I invite the next speaker, I think now is the best time for us to get to meet each other. Sometimes we come to dialogues like this and events, and if we don't make you meet people, you may go without meeting anybody. So before I invite my next speaker, I would like us to look at the person next to us, give them a warm welcome, and formally welcome them to this event. Ask their names, introduce yourself, what you do, quickly. I'll start from myself. My name is Wisdom Chap Jumbo, and I'm a TV presenter. So it's nice to meet everyone. Part of what I do also, I host the Energy Outlook TV program where we discuss energy and all. So this is me meeting you too. That's good. Fantastic. Please, just a seat here. All right. That's good. You see, sometimes when we go to events like this, you wonder why MCs do this. But if you agree with us, If we don't do it, some people may never talk to the next person to the left. Welcome. So it's always good, as I see every opportunity where we gather as a way to formally get to meet each other, meet someone new. You may never tell, the kind of businesses that may come off it. So thank you for indulging me on that. And I was introducing myself also earlier, maybe you didn't hear me, so that you also get to know me. All right. So just to give us another opening remarks again, as the Executive Director said, we are grateful to our partners, IHS Towards Nigeria, for their kind support and their partnership to make us achieve this today, and even more other initiatives working with the Global Compact Network. And I would like to formally welcome the Director of Sustainability of IHS Towards, Titi Lokpe Oguntoga, to please come and give us an opening remark. And once again, let's keep clapping for our sponsor and our partner, please. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and good morning. This conversation is not going to be complete without telling you about IHS and what we do. IHS is a telco infrastructure company, and what we do is we provide infrastructure support to all of the mobile network operators in Nigeria. We are a business established in 2001. We're almost 25, and in Nigeria, which is the biggest market, we have over 16,000 towers. One of the reasons why we are here today is because at IHS Towers, and even with the Nigerian OPCO, sustainability is something that we hold dear. We have it expressly spelled out in our core values, and it is at the heart of every single thing that we do in IHS. On that note, and now that you know about our organization, and please feel free to go online and read more about what we do. You would find our sustainability reports, our impact reports, and a host of other information that helps you to understand what IHS does and the role that we are playing to further entrench sustainability in Nigeria and across the world. Now, on that note, I'm so excited to be here this morning, and thank you, Wisdom, for bringing the energy up. Thank you. Conversations like this is also an opportunity for us to get to know what we are doing in our respective spaces. I believe that sustainability is one of the professions or practices that you can really say someone is not copying you, because everybody wants to scale. And in scaling, you need to be able to share best practices. You need to be able to share what you're doing right and learn lessons from other organizations. It brings me great honor to stand before you today to discuss things that are really fundamental to us in our journey on sustainability, especially the environmental part, business innovation, and long-term development. Now, the theme for this keynote was specially curated or articulated, and it is really focused on navigating risks and driving impact, which speaks directly to the realities businesses face in our increasingly complex world. We all know that climate change is upon us. Resource scarcity is one of the things we are faced with. Socioeconomic inequality, technological disruptions are not future threats. They are in our midst, and they are challenges that we have to start to tackle. Now let's look at navigating risks in a dynamic environment. I'm sure many of us heard of the floods in Niger State a couple of days ago. And you will think, after what happened in Borno, what's happening again in Niger? But that's the reality that we are all faced with. And so Nigeria, like many other nations, faces a convergence of environmental and socioeconomic risks. One is environmental degradation, and due to deforestation, pollution, and unregulated industrial growth, sometimes even population. Energy insecurity is one of the things that we are also faced with. and we are getting a shift, but currently we have an over-dependence on fossil fuels. Youth unemployment is, one of the things that is staring us in the face. Inequality, rapid urbanization, stressing public infrastructure. These risks require strategic responses, not just from the government or international partners, but from the private sector, the civil society, and all the other development partners, whether professionals or enthusiasts or advocates. The private sector can no longer be a bystander, and you all will agree with me. It must act as a catalyst for resilience and transformation. Driving impact through collaboration and innovation. Impact is no more about our disclosures or publishing sustainability reports or ESG metrics. It's really about the change. How are we able to drive tangible change that is progressive, that enables us enjoy cleaner air, make us see or work with empowered youth, inclusive growth, and positive climate action. So what are the things we need to do to drive impact? One, greener business practices, which is the foundation for the conversations and the dialogue we're having today. Companies must integrate sustainability into their core strategy, not just treat it as an add-on. Like we heard the executive director say, it's not just a nice to have anymore, it's become a business imperative. Adoption of clean energy, waste reduction, and sustainable procurement should become the standard. The second is innovation for sustainability. Technological innovation from green logistics to smart agriculture is already changing the game. Investments in R&D and partnerships with startups can unlock local solutions for global challenges. Collaborative platforms. No single organization can do it alone, and I believe that that is the way that we can scale impact. We need cross-sector coalitions, including government, not-for-profits, the academia, working together to align regulatory frameworks, investment incentives, and public awareness. I'd like to share a bit of our story at IHS because it's one of the things that I am very passionate about. We consider ourselves a model of sustainability or sustainable impact. One of the things that we've continued to do with IHS, one of the largest independent owners and operators of shared telecommunications infrastructure in Africa, is that we fully embedded sustainability into our business DNA. Our approach is to ensure that we continue to underpin sustainability in all that we do, and our initiatives are hinged on 4 core pillars, which are environment and climate change, education and economic growth, our people and communities, and of course, ethics and governance. And you would understand why we're also committed to ethics and governance. Initiatives that are not backed up by the right policies, whether locally, whether at the private sector level, is not likely to be institutionalized and standing the test of time. Some of the things that we've done include clean energy adoption, and this is through our Project Green initiative. We are adopting, because we have quite a number of sites, hybrid solar power solutions across our telecoms towers, significantly reducing reliance on diesel generators. We're also committed to reducing carbon footprints, and we continue to invest in energy efficient infrastructure, helping to reduce carbon emissions across our mobile network operations. We pride ourselves as, a stakeholder who is very close to the communities. And so what we do with the communities is to continue to ensure that we empower them. Case in point, we are supporting local biodiversity and reforestation projects across a few states in Nigeria. We have a decarbonization strategy, and this ensures that we are reducing or decreasing our greenhouse gas emissions. Our target is to reduce kilowatt-hour emissions intensity by approximately 50% by 2030. This covers Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions from our tower portfolio as we strive to continue reducing the impact of our operations on the environment. We're also a very strong advocate for waste management. We sit on the board of E-Waste Producer Responsibility Organization of Nigeria. And that is a not-for-profit organization set up by electrical and electronic producers in Nigeria that provides insight on responsible e-waste management across Nigeria. Through the partnership, we continue to ensure that we are contributing to a national agenda or framework for e-waste collection and management. We've trained quite a number of people in this regard. We've also created training manuals covering collection, transportation, and storage of electrical and electronic waste for the first 70 independent waste collectors in 7 states. Our community and infrastructure, we believe, should continue to enable us reduce tower energy consumption, which contributes to environmental impact. So we concentrate our efforts on this area. This commitment is expressed in our practice by our co-location model. And I'd implore you to again go on our website and know what that means. But it's one of the ways that we're also reducing our environmental footprints. We ensure that our customers are not duplicating investment and infrastructure build, and this subsequently reduces our environmental impact. We understand climate change risks, and one of the things that we're doing is to ensure that we also manage these effectively. We continue to manage and monitor extreme weather events, the potential to create both physical and financial risks to all our stakeholders. Our mitigation approach focuses on the primary risks to our towers, which predominantly come from wind and flooding events. And one of the things that we've done well is to ensure that before designing or installing any tower, we have done an assessment that enables us understand the historical wind speeds for that location and factoring in historical flood points. Tower resilience is assessed during annual inspections and before and after additional loads are added to them. On environmental education, over the last 2 years, we've partnered with GRENNER Africa Foundation to launch the Climate Action Superheroes, where we are teaching students of secondary schools on sustainable practices, enabling them to increase their environmental awareness and support advocacy from their schools even to their homes. CASH worked in 18 schools across Lagos, Cross River, Kaduna, and Enugu, and we continue to monitor the impact of that particular intervention. Some of us may be aware of what we're doing with innovation. Innovation, we believe, strengthens sustainability. And recently, IHS Nigeria launched the Ilorin Innovation Hub in collaboration with the Kwara State government. It's a fully powered solar panel hub, 100% solar, to promote more innovations that will help the nation achieve its climate change goals and national development agenda. As a business, we are committed to the Sustainable Development Goals. In conclusion, and as I wrap up, there are a few recommendations that I'd like to make. First is that we need to, continue to speak about policy-driven incentives. Government must strengthen incentives for green investments, whether through tax reliefs, grants, and public-private partnerships. Sustainability reporting standards must encourage credible disclosures, transparency, and accountability. We must continue to build capacity. And through this, we will be investing in human capital through sustainability education, vocational training, and digital innovation hubs. Finally, and the reason why we are here today, multi-stakeholder collaboration is essential. We must establish national platforms to convene businesses, regulators, and civil society around sustainability goals. We know that sustainability is not a journey, it's not a destination, it's a collective journey. It requires courage to transform, vision to lead, and collaboration to scale. Nigeria stands at the crossroads, and more than ever before, we can either be overwhelmed by the risks or rise to become a beacon of green innovation and inclusive growth in Africa. Well, the choice is ours, but we all know that the time is now. Let us commit from meeting rooms to boardrooms and probably even classrooms to create a greener and more resilient Nigeria together. And I do look forward to our conversations from this gathering today. Thank you all for listening, and good morning again.
Please, let's keep clapping for our sponsor and partner. That's a lot of work IHS is doing when we talk about sustainability. Myself personally, I'm fully aware of some of what she has said, because when you do the work I do also, you keep track in the sector, what is indeed happening. One fascinating thing about IHS is you see some of the telecommunications towers that they have across Nigeria. They are transitioning some of them from using diesel generators to solar. That's a very huge project. I don't know if you're aware of the recent deal with Odyssey, that they're working on. It's quite a lot of work that is happening. So they are well committed to what they say and what they do, and that's why it's easy to work with them. Please, once again, a round of applause for IHS. If you haven't, you can go to their website, look at some of their sustainability reports, and just keep yourself abreast with what they're doing. But beyond what IHS is already doing, we want to see that multi-sector, effort we can indeed, pull together as a private sector to even do much more. IHS is just one company. If every one of us indeed do much more can now be achieved. And because I work within the energy space myself, and when people come on my TV program and we discuss effort within the sector, I always wanted to learn really how they are able to, sustain the transition. How is it going for them? How are they, doing much more with solar? And if you look at our sector itself or Nigeria as a whole, the energy access gap is a lot. And I wonder why we have not fully accepted or adopted a transition to sustainable means of energy like renewable energy. And if I ask in this room, how many of us use solar now? I'm scared to ask, I don't want to ask, but if I'm sure I ask, you see that is still where we're having a bit of struggle. But there's much more we can do. How can we put in effort, to indeed achieve that? So there are a few questions I have that I would like us to just have like a quick conversation, really, before we have the panel, come together. And those questions, again, is indeed to get a sense of what we're thinking around some of these directions. I know, Gloria, if we have another mic, so we can be able to pass that around. And one question that is born in my heart to ask really is, in which environmental areas can Nigeria businesses collaborate pre-competitively for greater impact instead of competing? What's needed to make this alliance happen, particularly regarding enhanced communication and data sharing through connectivity? But the main question here is, how can we collaborate multi-sector-wise for greater impact? Not really in the area of competition. We're not competing, but we want to collaborate for greater impact, for Nigeria, really, in the area of sustainability. I don't know if anybody just want to really share. It could be what your company is doing, what your thoughts are around this. How can we, have that collaboration? What is still missing? What's the missing link there for us? Just to get your thoughts on this, really, please feel free if you want to share a few thoughts. I have a couple of questions, but I want to start with this, as I feel like it's at the core of why we're here, collaboration. How do we as a private sector, where do we find that link to indeed collaborate? And I'll be grateful if someone wants to share where could be the missing link. All of this will lead into our conversation in the panel. Maybe I'll just give a few minutes. Anyone willing to share the mic is ready. Indeed, we appreciate if you would. Another question probably that's in my mind is, how can we move beyond, aspirational climate goals to create a framework, that empowers the private sector innovation and investment in Nigeria? You are the private sector. So how can we move beyond those aspirational climate goals? Really, again, I'll be grateful if we have people in the room who want to help us to share. Last week, Friday, I had the guest on my program, the Energy Outlook. What we discussed was the use of productive use of renewable energy. Because as investment come into the sector, really, if we don't tie them to productive use, we may just lose them at the end of the day. So how do we, productive use for renewable energy, where can we do better with that? And you'll be amazed what's happening in the agricultural space. The cold storage space powered by solar, how much that is already saving not just cost, but our environment in itself within that space. Anyways, I saw someone hands up there. Oh, fantastic. Sir, you want to share with us? Okay, okay, we have two here. So we have two persons now, so here and here. Thank you. So your name, what you do, and just share with us.
Yeah, my name is Mr. Olaitonlale. I'm a consultant and creative system consult, or I register and also have a foundation, which I register with the UNGC. Yeah, thank you for this question. Let me first, appreciate IHS, what the director sustainability just shared with us. Yes, I've been hearing about IAH, and it's a good thing that we have this kind of program. It helps us to, collaborate more, to know more about. I'm from Kwara State. I heard about the issue of what they're actually doing in Kwara State, but I didn't know much details about IHS. But with the brief, explanation that the director just shared, it enabled me to know more about it, and I know where we can collaborate or where we are going to need them with the space of my own network, and I'm so happy for this program, because just like you said, we need to come together. Maybe next time we can, bring out the exhibition, a kind of big exhibition whereby we all display and, know more about what we can, do together and ensure that, just like you said, energy there's a big gap in Nigeria. Yesterday, I went to somewhere to work, and the business center guy is in one-man show. And I said, okay. He said, you couldn't do something for me it's late. I said, why? On generator now? He said, no. I've not been using generator for about 2 years. I was shocked. And he has been on inverter. So I think we should explore and ensure that we can collaborate in different ways that we think this can impact. Because like many schools also are working on alternative power to improve. So from what I've gathered from today and on HAS, and I'm already thinking of where I think we can partner or how I can bring them to in some places I think they can be of help. And doing that, we are helping the economy. Yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Round of applause for him, please. Please, can we help with the mic here? Thank you. I'm glad you're just learning a lot about the IHS. Me, I know this is our space. We follow the work anywhere it is, so we know quite a lot you're doing. Please, sir, continue.
All right. Good
Your
morning,
name and what
everyone.
you do. Yes, good morning.
My name is Justus Onaibu, DBA. I am the president of the International Network for Corporate Social Responsibility, a consulting firm on sustainability. And we've been working with IHS for the past 4 years, if not more, about that. We helped integrate ISO 26000 social responsibility in all IHS operations across the country. And we also audit it every year. So let me give you an idea of what IHS does.
Briefly.
Yes, I will. It's very important because
Yes.
when we talk about sustainability, many people think about sustainability from the point of view of reporting, right? So you don't report what you have not integrated. You don't also integrate what you cannot report what you have not audited, what you have not measured. So many of the companies that we have quite a number of companies here today. That's why I'm saying this. Many of the companies we have around the country think of, when they talk about sustainability, they think about reporting, sustainability report, yearly annual reports, and the rest of them. But what do you do within your operations? What do you do with your business relationships to understand, to make sure that your operations aligns with global best practices? That's the very most important thing. So moving on to your question, how do you collaborate? Again, going back to that, we have 37 indicators how to measure sustainability, integration, and organization.
Okay.
So it goes across the three key pillars of sustainability: environment, social, and governance. Those are the three key pillars. So, but with regards to environmental management, there are so many things. And a number of companies in Africa, we don't fund innovation. If you look at the western part of the world, they fund, many of the organizations have collaboration with research institutions, universities, NGOs, civil society organizations, in order to develop ideas on how to do things in a better way.
Okay.
Sustainability equates to innovation. If you cannot innovate, you cannot claim to be sustainable. Right? So the way you do things today may not be, because it's the risk exposures changes every day, they emerge. So what you do today thinking that you're sustainable, because the new emerging risk, whether internal or external, may change that situation tomorrow, then you have to continuously innovate. You have to work with our partners in the industry, partners in the sector, to think of new ways of doing things in a better way, in a more sustainable way, reducing waste, ranging from sustainable resource use to sustainable energy to production to management of even resources.
All right, sir. Because of time,
So
if I leave you, you need 1 hour. Because of time, sir, permit me to cut you.
So what I'm saying is that we need to work with each other,
Yes.
work collaboratively,
That's why
share
we're-
information, share knowledge,
Yes.
and develop and research in order to innovate new ways of doing
Fantastic.
things.
Thank you. So a round of applause for him. Please help me. Let's get the mic here. Last response, and we move on. Someone talked about solar. Me, for the last 5 years, I've never bought a generator. So I don't know what the sound looks like. So some of us are living the talk, if you ask. So please, we have final response with you so we can move to the panel. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I promise to keep it short. My name is Engineer Obi Charles Nana. I'm the founder and CEO of Kaltani. Definitely well said, my director. Collaboration is critical. Collaboration is key. Kaltani, in a nutshell, we are a recycling, waste management, and carbon sequestration company. For the last 4 years, we've been recycling plastic waste in Lagos, Ogun, and Oyo State. But recently, we secured Nigeria's first ever public-private partnership waste concession to manage waste for all of Abia State. So essentially what that means, thank you, is essentially waste collection for all 4 million residents and 900,000 households, collecting the waste, recycling the waste, converting waste to fertilizer, and eventually waste to energy, recycling plastic waste, and also finding sustainable use for waste aluminum, waste metal, waste paper, for other sustainable companies looking to recycle that waste. So that's what we're doing. We're also converting or registering for carbon credits, because from waste to fertilizer and waste to energy, you can imagine the amount of carbon credits that can be generated from that. For our concession, which lasts about 10 years, we will be essentially collecting 4 million tons of waste and sequestering about 3 million tons of CO2 across the next decade. This is very important to us, and it speaks to what our director was saying at its core, right? Collaboration. So for organizations looking to offset their carbon emissions, organizations looking to attract that net zero, look out for Kaltani. We're looking for ways to collaborate with you, looking for ways to work with you. In partnership with the UN, we're also addressing all those multiple UN SDGs, from life below land, life below water, life on land, circular economy, and partnership for goals as well too. I'm happy to be here. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to learning from each and every one of you and the great things you all have to offer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You should get the mic. And maybe we also should talk after. I'm from a local government in River State, where this way, please, the mic. This place in River State, where we are struggling with a dump site of waste, not sure what to do with it, and it's really a big problem. So, all right, sir, please go on.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ali Saidu. I operate a shea butter processing factory, which produces about 50 tons of shea butter daily. Now, looking at innovation with respect to sustainability in the agricultural space, and taking from the directors of IHS about biodiversity, afforestation, and the rest. Then connected to what most of the agricultural businesses are in Nigeria today, mostly at a startup point. Cooperation at that level seems to be a very difficult thing, because everybody believes by sharing, he's exposing his business information. But sustainability is not about competition. It's how to cooperate and work together. But there is that missing link, particularly in the agricultural space. A lot of innovation are there lying, but I cannot fund all of those things. You talked about alternative cooking mediums and what have you. For us in the shea industry, when we go to countries like Ghana, Burkina Faso, we see how much big corporations, global corporations like Bungi, AAK, how they go in there, support businesses, and then how they have been able to put together companies to work. But it is sad here, we all see ourselves in the face of competition.
Okay, sir, because of time. You also need another 1 hour. No, please, so that we can get into our panel conversation.
The final thing I will say on this.
Please, sir.
Sorry, just a moment. So you see, and again, funding is a key challenge.
It's a key challenge.
When we don't have grants,
yes,
when we don't have soft loans that would support startups to even initiate or innovate these things, it becomes difficult. Sorry, I know it's a conversation.
It's a long one. We need another one. Please, sir. Okay.
Good morning, all.
30 seconds.
My name is Korede Oluwole.
Okay.
I actually want to address your concern. My group, we have a forum on Wednesday, July 23rd at Muzon Center.
Okay.
And it's about
July 23rd.
Yes. At
okay.
Muzon Center. We are bringing together large corporations, the SME group, government, international organizations, on how to share experiences on how large corporations have been able to adopt their vendors, SME groups, in sustainability. And we're also bringing the financial services sector through the Nigerian Banking Sustainable, Practices Group.
Okay.
So that your concern, SME group can interact with the financial services sector and the large corporation on how they can support their businesses to go transiting into sustainability.
Fantastic.
So that is coming up.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So we can engage you after the event, how we can be there. But sir, I have invite already, so I'm invited. Hello, sir. Can you hear me, sir? Invitation has met me. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. All right. That's on the lighter note. Before we get started, please, a Formatic 350 black, is blocking somebody. Help us if you're that person. A Formatic 350, you seem to be blocking someone outside. We need your attention so you can help us repack. Ladies and gentlemen, already this has set the tune for our panel conversation, and you can see the energy is already high. So that's a good thing. So we'll get into our first panel today, which is navigating risks and driving impact. And already our conversation here has been able to shed light on that. Navigating risks and driving impact, collaborative strategies, for greener business practices, innovation, and sustainable development in Nigeria. I'm sure the panel already have very key points to get into their conversation to get started today. Ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to invite once again the Director of Sustainability, IHS Towards Nigeria, Titilope Oguntoga, to please join us on the panel. Also joining is the Lead Biodiversity and Nature-Based Solutions, United Nations Global Impact, Sylvia Josley, who is online, correct? Can you hear us? Technical team, hope you can get that on shortly. Also joining the conversation is Group Head Climate Finance, Bank of Industry, Larry Babalola. Thank you so much. Please also join us. Also joining the panel is legal specialist Oyeronke Oyetunde. Oh, okay, this was written wrongly here. Okay, apologies for that. Also joining the panel is Abimbola, Head of Sustainability, Wema Bank. Yes, I'm trying to be sure so that you don't. Agbe Olaja. Agbe Julie. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. Our person online is she on? So we can.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
All right. Okay, I think I'll yield the mic to the panel. Gloria? Oh, okay. Moderating the panel is Gloria from the Global Impact Network. Please, round of applause for her. Please. I think, Gloria, you have enough discussion points. So we'll do this for the next, if I'm not mistaken, 30 minutes? Thereabouts? All right. 40. Okay, 40 minutes.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and listen to a lot of amazing people, as well as be in the midst of intelligent business leaders from different sectors. We'll just go right straight into it because we already kind of set the tone with the reason why we are here and the purpose of this gathering. And so we have a very multi-diverse panel. We have IHS Towers from the telco side, the technology side. We also have finance as well. So, and we also have from the legal side, because there is nothing that you can do without there's nothing you can do without being right in the legal way. So we will just go right into it. Some of the questions I wanted to ask have already been addressed, but I think one interesting question for me, for the panelists, is what is one myth that, when it comes to sustainability, because this talk about sustainability, some people just, it's like a buzzword, some people have misconstrued information, but here we want to just walk the talk. So what is one myth or that you have come across around sustainability? I will start from
thank you, and good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining. Thank you to IHS as well for organizing this. The myth around sustainability is when people think of sustainability, they tend to link it with CSR. There is corporate social responsibility, but I must tell you that sustainability is life. There is no planet B. We only have one planet. And the way we live it now, the way we treat it now, is what will be there for our children's children. And so the future, even if it would affect us as an individual. So I would say sustainability is a journey. It is life. It affects the environment. It affects us as individuals, social being. And it affects our systems, the governance. How accountable are you? So you can think governance is just government leading. Governance is how accountable in taking care of the environment, where you live. How do you dispose of your waste? How do you consider the people living around you? So that's your governance base. On the social base, do you even consider people living around in terms of what kindness can you do to them? So it doesn't have to be government, it doesn't have to be a social organization. You as an individual, how do you produce your material? What ingredient do you put in it? So it goes on and on. So the myth is sustainability is not CSR. Sustainability is life. It's a journey. It's what we do as individuals. It's what we do collectively as a system, as a people, as a community. And we now need to start taking into account all of our footprint in terms of the environment, our social impacts, and the way we interact with people in terms of accountability and transparency. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very well said. We'll hear from...
One of the myths that I find really interesting is the fact that it has to be big to make sense. And I would like to bring that home. Many times we believe that for you to be able to report or to share many of the things you're doing, then it has to be really big. And because you want it really big, it requires, so much more in terms of financials, in terms of resource allocation and all of that. Now, we're talking about the private sector. The private sector, companies are represented in this room. I want to let us all know that, number one, you don't have to make very huge investments to get started in sustainability. And the second is because the MSMEs make up a significant fraction of the private sector in Nigeria, it is important that we all begin to work together, share ideas, share insights, share best practices, but ultimately know that what you are doing part-time is enough. And once you can get it institutionalized within your organization, the effect can, really be tremendous. Thank you.
Well said. So we'll hear from the legal side, and also acknowledging my colleague from New York who had to be up really early to join us. Thank you again, Sylvia, for joining us. So we hear from...
Okay, she asked me
Yes,
to
give me
go
the...
first. Okay, I think one of the myths is that sustainability is expensive. People tend to think that when you talk about sustainability, that has to be, it's money. As much as that is true, but it's only about the upfront cost. And if you spread the effect over the tenure of whatever asset you are looking at, it probably is not expensive. It's just a smarter choice you are making. Also, when people hear of sustainability, the first thing they think about is big corporate, large corporate. Even SME is supposed to look at sustainability, and also us individuals in our private lives. How do we just think about how to recycle, and also all the circular economy initiatives? We can live all that kind of life even in our private lives. Lastly, I think when anyone hears sustainability, the first thing they think about is saving the planet, only just the earth. I think it's not just about that. It's about the three pillars of our lives, which is economy, environment, and also the planet and our social lives. So if you don't work on the planet, then you can't think about how the planet works for you in terms of economy, and also how we relate with ourselves, gender issues, youth, and job creation and all that. That's the all-encompassing, when we think about sustainability, it's not just to say saving the planet. Those are the myths I think we need to think about. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will move to Sylvia. Do you have any thoughts on the question? What is the myth the misconception from your perspective around sustainability?
Certainly, thank you. And thank you all for being here, and thank you for having me. I think, to adding on to what our panelists have spoken to, that I think from the nature and biodiversity side, and honestly sustainability topics in general, it often is considered by the business community as a philanthropic addition to regular business operations. And I think that to achieve the goals that we need to achieve and protect our planet for future generations and for ourselves and for our neighbors, it really must be considered core, which I think we've spoken about kind of at the beginning of this event, and that it's not, or that it is rather a material business concern, and nature underpins everything we do, from human rights to supply chain resilience to soil health and pollination of agricultural products. So I think that bringing that in as a business risk, which I'm seeing happening across all sustainability topics, and really embracing it as a key business risk, and it's not just a side piece anymore, and that the entire, from the board to the warehouse floor, needs to be involved and educated around it. So I would encourage companies, to produce capacity building materials and to speak to one another about the values of your company and how that relates to your neighbors, to one another, and really push that forward, as business can be so much more than just a monetary profit-driving organization.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. So, I mean, this just boils down to, in summary, saying that sustainability is a way of life for entrepreneurship, for survival as us as human beings. And so it's not just CSR, it's not tied to large corporates alone. Everyone is part of the sustainability journey. Thank you all so much for sharing. And one of the things that was spoken, Sylvia mentioned, was risks. When we talk about sustainability, we also talk about risks, which brings me to the legal side. And we have a lawyer here who would throw some insights on that. And so my question to you is, beyond just staying compliant, because also what we hear about sustainability is people just want to meet up with reporting standards and just tick the box on what it is they need to do so they can move forward with dealing with their stakeholders. How do you think legal teams can become proactive contributors, so as from the legal perspective, to embed sustainability across the different units, different value chains? And I'm saying this from like all aspects and categories of businesses, because I know that whether you're an MSME or a nonprofit or whatever it is, you do need like a legal side to it.
Thank you very much for that question. My first response is, do you have an hour or more? But seriously, I think I want to leverage on the fact that what the panelists have all said, that sustainability impacts everything to do with life. It impacts every facet of our economy, of society, of governance, of everything. So it's something that everybody here and everywhere else, as all of us as Nigerians, need to imbibe as part of our daily living practices and so on. It might be just maybe switching our lights from normal lights to energy saving lights, switching off lights when you're out of the room, just simple things like that. It starts with that. It starts with steps like that, making sure that your waste, when you buy in a responsible manner. You don't just buy things. I mean, I love the paper bag, the plastic bag tax that Lagos State has introduced, for example. That in itself is something that needs to be encouraged, so that we don't generate too much plastic in our environment. But from a legal perspective, a lot of the things that concern us from a regulatory perspective, I have about 5 key issues to bring to your table. The first being the fact that legislation runs way behind development and sustainability. What the practices are, it takes time for it to be condensed into law. Sometimes it's 10 years, we have a 10-year lag. Sometimes it's 15 years. Many of the laws that we have so many laws in our books. Many of them do not imbibe the whole essence of sustainability and how it impacts. So there is an overarching need to bring our laws up to date. We're very lucky that we have very progressive regulators in quite a lot of fields, particularly with regard to sustainability reporting. We have a lot, those who govern banking sector, the NSC, SEC, CBN, FRC, NIRC, you name them, a lot of them, even the sector regulators like, say, maybe the NCC, they also have imbibed sustainability. You have SON also bringing that in. However, it's not just a matter of regulation. Regulation can only take us so far. We can put a lot of regulations on the books. However, in terms of enforcement, we need to be incentivized. And that in itself is one of the challenges we have, from a legal perspective. How do you incentivize the right kind of behavior when you're looking at sustainability? That is a big issue. We also have the issue of multiple taxation and regulation. We often have many of our regulators operating in silos, each one facing their own, and there is no coordination. And that in itself is a problem for us. Because many companies, I'm sure IHS will tell you, that they have to maybe meet the obligations under certain regulators, many regulators, all at the same time, all vying for the same. And when that comes in, the key issue here is sometimes many companies are subjected to multiple taxation. And that in itself is a challenge for businesses that are under a lot of pressure. So that the essence of multiple taxation and regulation needs to be addressed. There are also issues of the issue of working in silos. I was looking through the internet and so on. We had, I think in 2024, we had a presidential advisor on sustainability. However, that in itself undergirds the challenges we have when it comes to sustainability. Sustainability is a lifelong, as my colleague said, is a lifelong issue. It's not a 4-year issue, and too often our government, our regulators are driven by the government, by the ministries that they operate under. And very often, those ministries operate on a 4-year political cycle. And that in itself means that, one, they're looking for short-term gains, they're looking for low-hanging fruits, they're not looking long-term. It is a problem for us. It's a problem for, us in terms of implementing sustainability. We Nigerians are here for the long haul, for the length of our lives, in terms of making sure that our planet and our environment and our society remain sustainable. It's something we need to work on beyond the 4-year regime. Sometimes, you have all these plans that go well beyond the 4-year tenure. However, even at that, it's something that needs to be looked at and examined very carefully. Another issue, there's a quote that I found on the rule of law. Sustainability does not just affect the environment and things like that, but it also impacts us from a rule of law perspective. There's a quote from the World Justice Project in 2020. Let me read it to you. It says, "Effective rule of law reduces corruption, combats poverty and disease, and protects people from injustices large and small. Despite this, over all the world, people are denied basic rights to safety, freedom, dignity because the rule of law is weak and non-existent." That in itself, many of us here will identify with that. Businesses cannot operate where there is weak rule of law. We cannot implement sustainability the way we ought to implement sustainability when there is no rule of law, when there are fears with regard to security. I'm sure the IHS people will tell you perennially. I used to work in the telecom sector, and one of the problems we had in the very early days of telecoms was the fact that we had vandalization of sites before we moved our sites over to IHS. Sites were being vandalized. They would stick they would steal equipment, they would steal fuel, and then cause rampant degradation of the environment. You used to have oil spillages all over the place, and people used to complain, and we were the target of people coming to meet us, for compensation because the environment. And I think all of this also moves into the oil and gas sector as well. It is a major issue for us. Major issue for us. Now, where there is no rule of law, so one of the things that we need to address is ensuring that we have a strong rule of law ethic in Nigeria. It means we need to strengthen our laws, bring them up to date, embracing sustainability. We need to inform and educate our regulators, our legislators, our judiciary, our local governments, our state governments. All of them need to be properly informed and educated so that they know what to do in terms of bringing. And a lot of us here are industry players in our various sectors. We need to inform them as to what we need in terms of laws and regulations to ensure that sustainability issues are brought right up to, let me stop there. There are quite a lot of things I need to say, but let me stop.
Thank you so much. I could feel like the passion and the enthusiasm. And yes, I agree. I think one of the things the Global Compact does, particularly around like the rule of law, is we do have like the anti-corruption collective action and the working group around that, which is also a way to drive governance and enhance collaboration across the multi-stakeholders. But let me digress a bit to the sweet spot, because they always say the silver bullet to everything is finance. And then, finance is the glue. Like, there's nothing you want to do that you cannot do without finance. And I'm happy to have, like, the powerhouses. We have BOI here, and then we have Wema Bank. So now we're going to the money question. Let me start with BOI. And the question I have for you is, what are the kinds of businesses that you typically target for your office and desk, Climate Finance? What are the kind of businesses, SME businesses that you target? And also, like, what has your collaboration been? Because, we started with collaboration, which is one of the reasons why we're gathered here. How can private sector collaborate? So from where you stand, what has collaboration been like with other financial institutions or other players as well?
Thank you. At Bank of Industry, when we talk about criteria that we look at for any business to be able to access funding, from the sustainability point of view, obviously it means that your business is basically focusing on impact. Apart from you just wanting to grow economically, you're also looking at the kind of environmental impact you're making in the society where you operate. So reducing greenhouse emission, you're looking at circular economy initiatives around you. How do you recycle? What kind of raw materials do you engage? Are they sustainable? Those are the kind of things that we want to see. Of course, the first thing as a banker is to look at the viability of your business and look at the bankability of the business, and how do we then discuss de-risking strategies or co-sharing, risk-sharing strategies to be able to execute such transactions. So those are the kind of things that we look at before such request has any kind of successful outcome. In terms of collaboration, of course, the way we work in BOI, we engage borrowers directly, but it's usually like a tripartite relationship with commercial banks. So the likes of Wema Bank, for instance, and we have fantastic relationship with them because we are not commercial banks, so we're a development finance institution. So we don't have vaults at CBN, for instance, which is why you can't see branches of BOI everywhere. We don't collect deposits or give cash. So when we fund businesses, it's difficult for us to do collections. So we still require the technology architecture around the business framework of the commercial banks to work. So we work hand in hand with them. What they cannot give, we can give. But there are services we also can render to customers that they will not have to come in. For instance, they can give a long-term tenor loans, for instance. I can give a 5-year tenor loan, 6, 7 years, 10-year tenor. I'm not sure they have that deposit mix to be able to give such loans to customers. Apart from that, I can do single digit or 10% loan. I mean, it's difficult for you to find such kind of pricing in the current market, loan market environment. So we have to work hand in hand with the commercial banks to be able to do this. So as much as we have a lot of applicants coming to BOI, the ones that are successful are the ones that are able to also maintain excellent relationship with their commercial banks that they've been with for a while, that can vouch for them, that has all their history, that can look at their cash flows, performance, history, the character of the promoter of the business. Such commercial banks will be able to then give vouch for such business on our own side, that we can work hand in hand to do the collection together.
What are the specific types of, in the climate finance space, are there any pointers, things that you have high interest in? I know plastic is recycling waste. Is there any other? Do you have any
renewable energy business, solar? I mean, we have a lot of businesses trying to transition from fossil fuel source of energy into solar and other renewable biogas. A lot of other renewable energy initiatives that they're transitioning into, and we are really very excited to fund most of them across the nation. Also plastic recycling. I mean, one of the things we love about such projects is that, forget about the bankability of it alone, the kind of waste that they are pulling from the streets of Lagos or from the sea. It's very, very exciting to see. We have, there's a project we funded 2 months ago. They make diapers and pampers and all that, but they're biodegradable. So these are normal products that would have gone into the sea or on the ground to litter the ground, but if the kind of materials they use in making them just, fuses into the earth like that without any kind of pollution or adverse effect on the environment. Those are the kind of business you look at. There's another project called the plastic. They recycle plastic to make roads, to mix with asphalt. I mean, it's an adaptation project that would be more, it's more resilient to weather. Those that we like the innovations coming from anything sustainability and climate allied project. People are just coming up with things and a lot of innovation from different circles across the country. So it's quite exciting to see.
Okay. Please, Abimbola, from your perspective as a commercial bank, because he has said they only deal with commercial banks, what do you think about embedding sustainability into operations, and also from the consumer side, what are the things that you look out for from your office?
Thank you very much, and thank you for that feedback. So there's a lot that's gone on into sustainability. So as everybody has said here, sustainability is about innovation. And so there's no way you want to support a business, but you don't practice that. So internally, we've embedded sustainability, all of the things that we do as a bank. So from our operations to the way we relate with our customers. In terms of operations, about 45% of our branches are powered by solar. We don't print paper, so you can ask me. So if I have my questions, it's on the phone. So we have something called the Purple Works. So all our approval memos, reports, they're all on the system, and you can get your approval via memo or e-sign, DocuSign. So that has eliminated the use of paper. Beyond that, we also do some other climate-friendly things within the organization, such that at the head office, certain days of the week, we shut down the elevator. So people can walk up and down the stairs. We have about 12 floors. And so it will be days that you can It's an exercise. It's actually good for the heart. It's only if you have conditions. There's one elevator that is left for that, because we understand that it's not everybody that can do that kind of exercise. And more importantly, all of these things have to be supported by executive management. So once you have the buy-in, it's easy to actually implement all of these initiatives. So my MD, Mr. Oseni, is a sustainability champion. So you say, oh, I'm going to work as well. So everybody has to take that work. For branches, we try to shut down at 4 p.m. We don't use generators. So most of our buildings, as far back as about 10 years ago, we actually ensure that they have enough, they use glass for daylight saving, so that you can see for a long time. You don't need to use electricity before you can say. We also use effluent water systems to recycle our water, especially in a lot of areas. Not everybody that has good supply of water. And I'm sure most of us have this in our house, the dual flushing system. So, and we do a lot of advocacy on how to use it, the awareness. If you're not using a computer, shut it down. If you're not within the kitchenette and you're not doing anything, shut down the microwave properly and all of those things. Beyond the operational aspect, there's a business aspect of it, which is our scope 3 emissions. I'm sure it's all about scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. Scope 1 and scope 2 is what we do. Our fleet is managed appropriately by the general admin services team to ensure that we use the cars efficiently, and all of those other things that we have within our building that can be controlled. For our scope 3, which is our finance lending, and how do we lend to our customers? For customers that want to benefit from sustainable initiative or sustainable funding, because we also speak to DFIs, local ones like BOI. We have AFDB, African Development Bank. We have quite a number, European Investment Bank. They want to see how sustainable the organizations that we want to fund are. So what are the things that they're doing? How do they dislodge their waste? What kind of employment do they do? Do they practice fair wage, or they practice living wage? Do they employ a certain number of women? How sustainable is their organization? Just a one-time thing. How do they do their production? How do they source their materials? And even when our own vendors, we train them on something called E&S management, because we have an extended producer responsibility, because sometimes they produce things for us and those things could cause harm to the environment and it will cause reputational issues to the organization. So we try to train them on what they need to do. That's part of the things that we embed in the organization. For companies that do a lot of things, so he mentioned the plastic road company. That's a company that is using plastic waste with asphalt to build roads. And you have it in Lagos here. The prototype is somewhere in Aja, and we can all say those are kind of companies that we also support and we produce. We also do climate smart agri. A number of farmers, they want to be able to produce, process, store, package, and sell. So if you have a sustainable model that could help that kind of business, we actually go into it, and we help those kind of companies to source for this single interest loan. Don't forget that as much as we're sourcing for this loan and we're taking even the BOI loan, we still carry the risk because of the guarantee that we. So we need to ensure that customer stopped. Okay, we need to ensure that customer it's actually has a good character, the business is sustainable, it's scalable. So we don't just want to do something at the base mod level. We want to be able to impact. How many people are you impacting in terms of how many jobs are we creating? The distribution model, how sustainable is it? Can we get on more people? How do we supply all of these things? So we look at all of that in terms of our operations. Then you now talk about the second thing in terms of collaboration. Collaboration is key. We can't do it all by ourselves because sustainability is big. There's so much fun that we have that we can play around with. But we need to work with other organizations. So sometimes it's not about the money. Sometimes we need technical expertise. We need someone to come even train our own customers. And so we did something with Islamic Development Bank for women, so that they train women on how to put their finances together in a proper way that will be bankable. So to be able to separate your finances from your personal finance from your business finance. Tell them on how to put their taxes in order, because when it's time to do it, tell them how to show how can you develop other people and scale your business. We did that with Islamic Development Bank, and they gave funding to some women, and it's in the form of grants. What we had to do was just to monitor, to ensure that when we go back, and when they come back and monitor and say, oh, these things are being done, they're real, this is how the woman has scaled the business, or this is the next thing the woman is doing. And we have a large platform that is doing it under the Sarah proposition. Sarah by Wema is doing great things. And Most of the loans under that platform is single digits. But before you need to access, we need to see your track record, see what you want to do, how you intend to do it, where you need to take the business to, what model have you put in place. We understand that it's a one-man business, but can the business outlast you, or outlive you? Because sometimes when someone passes on, that's the end of that business. And we don't, or when there's a major illness, that's the end of that business. We've seen that happen. And so we try to put things in place like insurance, get other people to be able to understand the business model and be able to succeed with. But more importantly, we work with other people to look for catalytic funding and also other impact investors that would like to invest in our customers, maybe not our own fund, but we can guarantee that this customer will repay and will do the needful and the business will scale. That's how we've been running the business. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think one thing, just before I come to, like, these are the mega guys, IHS. I haven't heard so much about nature and biodiversity, and I know that's part of also in terms of greener business practices, and that's why we have Sylvia here. So I'd like to hear from you, Sylvia. Just also listening to the panelists, how do you think Nigerian businesses can tap into that culture of nature and biodiversity from a business standpoint, and also complementing the work that the Global Compact does?
Thank you, and I've really enjoyed listening to this panel. It's wonderful to hear all of the insights, and I think a lot of what has already been said applies very well to nature and biodiversity. I think that nature presents a really interesting opportunity for business because it is very apolitical, and most people feel some sort of connection, whether it's to the sea or the forest or the savanna, and companies can use that. And so, doing something like what my colleague who was just speaking before mentioned, of how before she can, start banking others' products and projects, you really need to look at your own organization. And I think that can be done for companies by building nature and biodiversity into their brand. And I don't think that any of us want to maybe climb 12 flights of stairs, but you can take smaller little initiatives and maybe have nature commitments in your purpose and in your strategy, even before you start disclosing on it, and have that in public spaces so that the conversation begins around how your organization views nature and how you can connect with nature. And when people come to apply to your company, they know that you value nature and those impacts and those dependencies. So all of a sudden now the people who are trying to join your organization are appreciating that mission and are looking to join it. I think also that educational opportunities so that you can build nature into each and every business role within your company. So it doesn't just sit within sustainability teams, but actually, again, when human resources goes to hire somebody, or when finance is making a decision on risk mitigation, that they all have an awareness of the importance of nature. And we see that from many of our Global Compact participants in many different ways. And some of it is just going for a walk outside, and some of it is bringing in external experts to share about, the local species, things like that. So there are a lot of creative ways to get everybody on board with it beyond just regulatory means, because I do think considering nature from a risk perspective is important, but it does limit kind of the energy that and the potential that the topic has. I would say also that just to begin from the Global Compact side, some of our partners developed a methodology called ACT-D that many of you might be familiar with. It's assess, commit, transform, and disclose. And at the Global Compact, at the global level, I'm based in New York City at the headquarters, and we've only just started considering nature and biodiversity about 1 year ago. So we're still really building up all of our offerings and connecting with partners and really understanding where the barriers are to effective nature action from a business perspective. And I think that while we're creating these resources to push the assessment, and there are resources within the Task Force for Nature-Related Disclosure for setting science-based targets. There's a WWF materiality risk tool, and many of them are free to use. The Encore tool is free to use, and you can go in even if you don't have capacity across your entire organization, you think, to really attack nature and to understand those dependencies. While we encourage that, it's not always realistic. So if you can just play around, for 30 minutes on one of these free tools and start understanding, maybe based on one value chain or based on one product or one location or one warehouse, where some of your biggest impacts are, and then coming together as an organization and thinking about ways to lessen your impact or to avoid nature loss where possible. And then once that kind of culture of nature appreciation builds, then maybe you can look into restoring ecosystems and regenerating and implementing nature-based solutions. But as someone mentioned earlier on the panel, getting started wherever you are is what we recommend. There's no time like the present to get moving. And again, I think it's very exciting, all the different opportunities, and everyone is starting to look at nature and biodiversity, but is still very new in the business space. So there's an incredible amount of creativity that's happening, and that companies are beginning to learn from one another, but also to really showcase these innovations that they're doing. And global actors are paying attention and trying to learn from one another. And I would also just quickly mention that we're building a global Compact Academy case portal, which kind of mirrors the World Conservation Monitoring Center has a case portal, Capitals Coalition has a case portal, TNFD has a case portal, and you can really go and search through and find similar businesses that might be struggling with similar issues. And you can pull what you need and innovate from that base idea. But thinking from the Global Compact side, that this is extremely challenging what we're dealing with, but you're not alone, and we're aiming to produce as many resources as possible to support one another. And in fact, if you would like to submit a case study to our academy, please do reach out, because we would love to hear from you. And again, it's that ability to collaborate and build together, I think, that creates such a great opportunity. And I apologize if you hear my dog in the background. He feels very passionately about nature as well. But thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Yes, so the conversation is ongoing about nature and biodiversity, and we're expanding, especially in our own context and reality here. And there's a lot of opportunity available now to the powerhouse, because IHS Towers they are like at the intersection of everything. So like, for example, connectivity, digitalization, technology. You cannot do anything without it. And I can only imagine like the diverse value chain suppliers that you have. And so my question is, how do you manage that value chain and still maintain like keeping sustainability at top notch? And what are the interesting innovations? I know you did speak to some of them during your opening remarks, but if you want to shed some, like a little more light.
Thank you. When it comes to suppliers and managing them, especially in relation to environmental shocks, it's an interesting yet ongoing conversation. The first thing that we've done at IHS is to establish what the supplier code of conduct is, and this helps us to manage the expectations of the suppliers and also our own internal workforce. What they are doing in terms of ensuring that the suppliers meet, the requirements, for them to be able to do business with us. And based on that, the understanding is shared. From time to time, we also conduct, audits to ensure that we manage all of the issues that could be related to, climate resilience and environmental shocks. One of the things that we've also done is that we continue to train our suppliers. And it makes, not great sense that you do all of the work and you embed certain principles and expect, and you are abiding by those principles, but your stakeholders, like the suppliers, are not able to abide by those principles. So from time to time, we conduct trainings for our suppliers, ensuring that they are abreast with trends in the sustainability space and how it affects their businesses. Because again, when you think about sustainability, you need to consider the sustainability of sustainability. And when you think about governance, risks and all of that, how do we strengthen their businesses in a manner that thrives? That is one of the commitments that we have in IHS Towers. When it comes to capacity building, that's one thing that we also preach, from inside to outside. And what that means is we also identify opportunities to get people talking, but also practicing and implementing many of the initiatives. So for example, many of us may be familiar with the UN WEPs, which is, helps women in procurement, or women-led businesses to, to access certain information that helps them to better scale their businesses. One of the things I like to share, which is really interesting for us, is that many times we have the conversations around socio-economic impacts, but we hardly talk about socio-environmental impacts. And I'll give you two good examples. One is we have a commitment to, we have a commitment to reforestation, and so we're planting a lot of trees. And creating a lot of green spaces, within residential places, even, and public places. How do we ensure that those places are properly managed? One of the things that we've done in relation to supplier code is to ensure that once we create those green spaces, we've also entered into a maintenance agreement or a maintenance contract, such that 5 years down the line, the trees are still standing. We are doing a post-implementation audit measuring the impact. Another example that I also like to share is we're a business with, I like to call it 16,000 footprints in Nigeria. 16,000 towers, that's a lot. So how do we ensure that all of those issues around vandalization that has been mentioned, and the impacts on the environment, theft, crime, because whether we like it or not, they are environmental issues. You may look at it from, not a planetary point of view, but when you consider that socio-economic issues also have an environmental side to it, then it makes the understanding a lot broader. We currently employ over 30,000 people indirectly in Nigeria. Indirectly, and I'm not talking about our direct workforce or our suppliers. What that means is that we are able to take those people away from the unemployment pool, and they are better resourceful. They are helping us manage health and safety standards. They are helping us manage environmental standards. They are, pretty much supporting our own ambitions. And that's why I speak about the socio-environmental part, because when you can reduce crime, you can reduce lack of productivity, all of those things, people, picking things here and there and, dumping them in the wrong places and all of that. I mean, that for us is one of the biggest impacts that we are proud of. And so when we think about all of these things, we continue to ensure that whatever we do, we are not only committed to ensuring that our organization thrives, we are also committed to ensuring that our suppliers thrive. And that's one of the biggest commitments that we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's like, can we give a round of applause? Because that's huge. So I will also throw open to the audience. I cannot but give you an opportunity to also, pick the brilliant minds I have here. So maybe we'll just take like 2-3 questions, because we still have an interactive session after this. And then we will wrap up the panel. Okay. Okay.
I just want to respond to Alhaji with Ali with regard to collaboration with stakeholders. A lot of what I had done in the past was stakeholder engagement and management, and in the large industry, in the telecoms sector. And one of the things that, because it's a regulated sector, it means that when you're competing, there are certain things you cannot share with your competitors. However, that doesn't stop you from collaborating and partnering and engaging with them with various things. We set up an association. We have about 2 associations. industry associations of all, say for example, it would be all shea butter producers and farmers. What are your common issues with regard to maybe security, regulation, one of the things that I'm very passionate about, and for me in the very early days of telecoms, it was something that we positively sought from our regulators: incentives. NIPC is a very good place to stop, to go to with regard to that. What incentives can you get? And what we're looking for, one of the things that I found with the NIPC, for example, they've said a lot. Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission. They're the ones that manage investing both for Nigerian entities as well as foreign entities in Nigeria. And they help to promote whatever, say for example, pioneer status. If you're new, if you're innovative, if you're starting. But one of the things that I didn't really see is sustainability, where people are able to imbibe sustainability measures and initiatives in their businesses. They should be able to get some sort of subsidy and or tax credit and or something to encourage that kind of behavior and to move businesses, whether you be a multinational, an SME, or even a small proprietor, mami, whatever it is, shop, you should be able to get some incentive from implementing sustainability initiatives. And this is one of the things that, say for example, in your industry, you can promote with other shea butter farmers, So there is a lot that you can do in terms of collaboration. It's not just, it's a high level thing and it's an industry thing, but when it comes to competition, you don't need to share how many gallons or kg of shea butter you produced or whatever, things like, say for example, pesticides that are harmful to the to biodiversity, to the environment, to the ecology. These are things that could be addressed, to look for other things and to make sure that everybody complies. One of the problems we have with regulation in Nigeria is enforcement. They may make the rules, they may make the regulations, but enforcement. If you're all able to come together to agree that certain things will not be allowed in your industry as a whole, across the board, then you need to make sure that the means of enforcing it is there and is present so that everybody operates from a level playing field. And that's one of the problems we have from a legal perspective. So let me stop there.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. A lot of brilliant insight. So we would not be able to take all questions, but let's see the first hands. I think we have 3, 1, 4. Okay, she's the only lady. I want to see why are the ladies not asking questions. Okay, yeah, there's one there. Okay, so is there a mic or?
Yeah.
They have. Okay. Oh, okay, there's one mic here. Please, let's just keep the questions very brief so that the panelists can also answer.
Okay, my name is Soji Adeniji, and the MD of Oat Construction Nigeria Limited. I also am the chairman of Construction and Engineering Group in SCCI. My concern really is just about the industry that I belong to, construction. We have a lot of waste being generated, and most of our equipments are powered by fossil fuels. And we're talking about designs. Of course, a lot of things is being done now to ensure that designs recognize sustainability, ensuring that we have less carbon footprints and all that. But the area that I want us to look at and to see if I want to appreciate IHS too, but the area that I want us to look into is the area of a lot of materials that we are importing into the country. For example, most of the components we are using in construction industry, maybe for temporary works, are things that are being imported. For example, let me just speak about formwork. Talking about marine plywood and things like that. We have so many categories of this particular material. Some of them use it for once and then you don't have any value for it anymore. I like the comments given by our BOI that sometimes you spend more at the beginning, but you tend to enjoy. Yeah, there are various categories of materials like plywood. Some are very, very costly, but on the long run, you use them like 5, 6, 7 times before you dispose of them. But then you get some that once you use them for once, they are gone. And now, what can we do in terms of enforcing regulation? Either with SON to regulate the influx of these substandard materials into the country. I don't know who can speak to that?
Should we do, maybe we can just get the questions, then we'll just then take the answers so that we can. So that's one question on regulation. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Mr. Lighton Aleye. Let me first, be an advocate for what our lawyer said concerning tax issue, the double taxation. I think the new tax reform has addressed that. So I think that will not, come anymore. But I want to ask a question. We are talking about sustainability, and from the panelists, we all said that's a journey, it's a way of life. So how do you measure it sometimes? I'm a high social auditor. So I see sometimes that's what we call social audit. So how do you measure that you actually, go in line with, because I can see that many big organizations now has a sustainability department. So how do you actually measure and know that, okay, you are really in line, and does it have any collaboration with the CSR that, you come together and, they are interchangeable or whatever. Then secondly, I want to ask this question to the BOI. You mentioned, your activities are tripartite. You go with the commercial banks. So the SMEs that you give loan to, if you look at our informal sectors, most of them are not that accounting or finance knowledgeable. And there's a lot of money, because that's the area, even though in the tax area, they're trying to bring them to the tax net, because the money in that aspect is voluminous. So how do you lecture them, especially most of them that they don't have this educational background on finance? And you say you work with the commercial bank. From what I know, most commercial banks, as Josh said, is that they will ask you for a lot of things which they cannot provide, like audited account, being that, this, that. So how do you marry that to ensure that you are able to meet the objective for which you are set up for? Thank you.
Okay, I think there's one.
Good afternoon, everyone. Akinbo Akinlugbade, Kawai and LCCI. I want us to not go down the path of sustainability for sustainability's sake. And what I mean by that is a lot of the call and push for sustainability today is pull driven. It's not a push from us outward. It's a pull from the external agencies, financiers abroad, and because the West is very heavily interested in sustainability, it's pulling everyone along. And this is not always necessarily in our interest. And I want us to be very, very careful about doing things which might hamper our development as we go along. Because there's we're all aware, you have to go through various phases of development, industrialization, and so on and so forth. And sometimes that might not be compatible with a lot of these initiatives. Let's take the example of solar, for instance, that a lot of companies are using. We're doing this mainly because first there was no power. So we all turned and got solar. Now it's because power is too expensive. and so we're all going to get solar. So I like that because there is a financial incentive and it also dovetails with sustainability. So I think we need to look for more use cases where there is a clear goal-driven reason for sustainability. Financial is more often than not the main reason here in Nigeria. But I think if you don't find those reasons that matter to us here, it's a wash, it's a waste of time. So the comment is, let's find the sustainability initiatives that dovetail with reasons and rationales that make sense to us for our environment and our stage of development and where we want to get to.
So maybe two more questions. Two ladies.
Yes.
Two ladies, please. She and sorry, the guys have spoken.
And herself.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, distinguished panelists. My name is Esther Adewale, my name, and I'm the sustainability analyst and also the executive assistant to the managing director of Free Recycle Limited. Just briefly, Free Recycle Limited is into tire recycling. We recycle tires to sustainable products, fashion, flooring materials that are very good quality, and we've had projects in the past with APMT terminals, banking sector. So to my question, I'd like to direct my question to IHS and Wema Bank. Are there room for partnerships and collaborations for people into tire recycling? Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jife Williams. I'm the co-founder and CEO of MN Environmental Services Limited. And MN Environmental Services Limited is professionalizing access and provision of public toilets to the marginalized communities. So you find MN in Oshodi, you find us in Abulo Egba, and we are trying to bring an end to open defecation in Nigeria. So my question is directed at BOI and Wema Bank. One of the challenges we have is raising finance to provide infrastructure. We are building solid toilets that would last over time, and we are also promoting safe hygiene practices within communities to bring about behavior change. At the same time, our beneficiaries are the marginalized, so there's a limit to how much we can charge for our services. We are charging affordable user rates to encourage people to come in and for us to be able to end open defecation. So what we are looking for is long-term financing for our projects. You go to the commercial banks, they don't understand WASH. Some of them only have short-term funds, and the first thing they ask you for is a collateral, a house. But in the sector we are operating in, we cannot meet that, we cannot provide that collateral. So my question is, do you have any funding available for WASH services or businesses in the WASH sector? Thank you.
All right, please, because of time, we have one more question here. That will be the last. So the panel can respond, please, as we are running out of time.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul Oshaw. I'm the Sustainability Manager for United Capital. And I'm glad we're having this conversation because we play a critical role in driving environmental stewardship as part of the broader sustainability spectrum. However, there is no way the private sector can effectively do this, without the backbone of financing. Or a lot of people would like to transit to solar energy. They would like to reduce their emission. But the question is funding. We know some of those things are not coming from Nigeria. They import them, the dollar issue, the inflation issue, and then you go and meet an energy person, tell you a 2.5 kVA solution now is about 3.5 million. All right, so I know BOI, you do fund businesses, you fund companies. But I would like to also ask Wema Bank, because I just did some little check. I noticed you have a solar loan going for 37%. An average Nigerian may not be able to pay that. But I know we can run around for some single-digit loans we have some women loans that we've carved at 9 point something. So can we also, how can we do more of such low interest funding to embrace that adoption? All right, it's going to really help to drive, and I think that's one of the things we can do. For capital markets, where I am right now, we can come up with investment funds. You know, we can come up with things like that that will be geared towards linking that environmental sustainability. So what can we, I know BOI, you focus on industries, but can we also have some consumer finance that will speak to single interest loans for solar adoption? Thank you.
Okay, so I guess we can start from the
I hope we
legal
still remember the
side.
question still.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. She wants finance to start.
No, it's okay, sir.
Finance questions, then we go to legal and end with IHS.
Okay, so I'll take the first question that was thrown to everyone regarding how do you measure sustainability. I think I acknowledge the challenge, but it's actually easier than the way you might look at it. Maybe because it's a new phenomenon in this part of the world, okay? But you know, sustainability is very broad. It's broad. So if we're talking about energy efficiency, for instance, it's easy to take data of what you used to consume before and what it is now, and then you will be considered to be embarking on sustainability measures if there is a reduction of at least 20% of what you used to consume before and what it is now. So those are one of ways by which that side of sustainability is measured. In terms of waste collection or waste recycled, you can look at what you used to generate in terms of waste, maybe for a particular period of time, and then look at what it is now, given the measures you have now put in place. All those ways, there are different ways by which it's measured. It's new, so people are still not used to it yet. So it's difficult to really track some of these things, but there are measures to it, you know. And maybe others can also give other suggestions as to how it is measured. There's another question regarding MSMEs and how we want to lecture them, how we need to help them in terms of maybe raising quality proposals that lenders can see as bankable and scalable businesses. I think we do that a lot in BOI. We engage private sector to help. We have partners that we call BDSPs, business development, something partners, business service providers that go around lecture MSMEs, and they get paid for those from BOI. You know, so we do. You know, it's pretty much very difficult given the environment we are in, but it's something we are being aggressive about. Then there's the challenge of, I mean, it's easy for an IHS to walk into any commercial bank and ask for BG because you want a bank guarantee to be able to access loan from BOI. But a typical Lanre Babalola enterprise may not be able to walk to a webman and say, "Hey, give me." Yeah, it's a big challenge, but we also know that it's not everybody. It's not all the millions of MSMEs operating in Nigeria that will be able to access a single-digit loan from BOI. But the few ones that can, we're helping them, and then it's not all the time that we require a bank guarantee from customers. Sometimes some of them are able to come up with other forms of security. But what we need to be discussing right now is are we in an environment where we can actually lend without a collateral at all, given what we know, you know? We have our lawyers here, you know what the environment is like. And if you look at your portfolio as a banker, you look at all the ones you've actually maybe one-off, concessionally, you've actually granted loans without a collateral. You look at it and look at what they are doing. You know, it's almost impossible to be able to give loans out without having a tight mechanism to be able to collateralize or secure it, a second way out. You know, it's almost impossible in this environment. People are not, I mean, we are not there yet, okay? Yeah, but lastly, we have other ideas we are we are coming up with other DFIs like DBN, Development Bank of Nigeria, a couple of other DFIs, coming up with some a risk-sharing mechanism between us and them, and then we can have like a silent guarantee. So I'm talking to an applicant. The applicant doesn't know that we've been able to put a guarantee in place, even if it's just 75%, not 100. So you still have to come up with 25. So that we can increase the entry barrier. It's not everybody that should be able to have access to it. So come up with 25% of the loan. So if you want 100 million, at least secure 25 million out of it. Then I can have a 75 million that has been guaranteed without your knowledge. Okay, it's been guaranteed through some other mechanism that I've worked on. It's almost in place right now. And there's also what federal government. What's the name of this? No, not NISRA. It's just been, they just instituted the board lately. They will guarantee AGF. Anyway, I'll remember. So they've come up with that. It's also to be able to address applicants in BOI or in other DFIs that are having challenges being able to come up with a way to de-risk their transactions. They can go to such environments like infra credits, and they can figure out a way to help you de-risk them. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. There are actually metrics to measuring sustainability. So if you're in the banking industry, there's one from CBN called the Nigerian Sustainable Banking Principles. I report on a biannual basis. There's a global reporting initiative. There's a new one is global as well, International Sustainability Standard Board. So it's not everybody that started reporting on that. There are several other metrics that you need to use depending on your industry and the extent you want to measure and report. But you can start with the basics, writing down how much in terms of emissions. There are also open sources as well. So for instance, if you want to measure the tons of electricity that you use, the tons in terms of diesel consumed within your organization, there are open source online that you can use to start in terms of measurement. But there are a lot of sources. The second one is on training for SME. At Wema Bank, we will have something called the SME Business School. There's no way that you get a facility from the bank that you not be enrolled on that SME Business School. And so if you get there, you learn things around putting your books in order, finance, accounting, things about legal implications for your business, taxation, sustainability as well. How to start embedding sustainability in your business is also there as well. They have things around how to scale, reports, writing, and we have all of this even for the women-led businesses as well, so it's available. The third question around single-digit interest loan. So we have impact sectors. So if your sector is particularly impacting on certain area of an environment, we can actually pitch to international financiers or development financial institutions about that. We have this segment or sector or this business and it's doing XYZ. This is the implication. And they've not funded this because a lot of funding that's coming to Nigeria, they can't see. And that's the truth. And sometimes when banks take in some of this funding and it's time for reporting and monitoring, we really don't have anything to report. So it's a big problem. So and the money that the bank has got is not really our money because other people's money that we're trading with at the end of the year, they expect to get something called dividends. And also, if you placed money in the bank in terms of deposit, you want to get interest as well. I don't want to get to the time that I'm coming to back to you and I'm giving you stories because I've lost money because I have stranded assets. Banking doesn't work like that. So I need to do all of those risk elements to ensure that this business that I'm investing in or financing will give me the required returns or would actually pay itself back. That's what I look out for. So I don't want your collateral. I don't want your house. I don't want your time.
Out of time.
So for Free Recycle, Free Recycle is actually a partner. We've partnered, but we've actually just not done extensive. So I know you collect tires. We had conversations in Ibadan. Exactly. So maybe you are not aware. We're a partner. We've partnered with your team before. For Wash, it might be a bit difficult because the truth is that you're a social enterprise. What you need is a grant. You need government support, not a bank finance. So a bank finance will not work for you, and it might be difficult for one bank to finance. The best we can do is in terms of CSI, corporate social investment. We're investing in people as an activity, but it now depends on what we have as cash flow to be able to invest in that. The last one will be on uncollateralized loans. So we do that for women. If you have a business and you can see your cash flow, and you're able to pay yourself back, well, we can guarantee you and give you an uncollateralized loan. We've done 9% in the past. We're still doing it for certain businesses as long as your business is viable and it can pay itself back. Because of time,
if we allow the banker go on, there's so much he can tell you.
Okay, so
Gloria, please.
Just brief comments, 1 minute from the lawyer, and then final wrap-up from IHS.
Okay. In terms of measuring sustainability, just to let you know, to add to what she said, there are things that you do: environmental impact, social impact, governance impact. All of that you need to assess, and that's what will determine what is relevant for you in your community, in your industry, in your sector. Two, with regard to regulation and how to, we're in a catch-22 situation in many cases. The government has rolled out Nigeria First policy recently. That means that everything you need needs to be sourced in Nigeria. If you import it, it's going to attract very high custom duties and taxes. However, many times, there are things that you can actually source internally from Nigeria. And that's one of the things that that's one of the things that the Nigerian government is trying to encourage, although at the end of the day, consumers are going to have to pay for it. And it's really high prices for various things. Example is solar, for example. Solar panels used to be imported cheaply from China. Now you can't import it because of Nigeria First. You have to use Nigeria solar produced panels, which are of a very low quality as compared to what you used to get cheaply from abroad. And it's a major issue for us in terms of, we're talking about sustainability issues, being sustainable, how long will it last as compared to what you have from abroad. Then the third thing, sorry, one more point. Local manufacturing capacity. We're still back to the basics of our economy when it comes to sustainability. We have major problems in our economy. We can't produce, we can't manufacture, except with a very high cost. Power is a major problem for us. If they sort power out, sustainability will be enhanced. So there are so many things that we need to sort out in terms of the basics of our economy that we need as building blocks for sustainability and its adoption by many countries.
All right, thank you. Sorry. Thank you. Final comment.
All right. It's been an interesting conversation. I particularly liked what Akimo of LCCI, right? Akimo of LCCI mentioned about considering the impacts of the sustainability of sustainability. I believe that, one of the things that sustainability helps us to do, even though it is the West pulling us, and I believe they are pulling us in the right direction, is the ability for us to localize sustainability in a manner that fits our context, our purpose, and helps us to meet our needs on a day-to-day basis. I'll share a very practical example. When we at IHS decided to go the e-route of document signing, production, and all of that, we embraced that, but what we also did was to collect all the paper that were in our stores, in our warehouses, and we repurposed that into pencils. Now we took the pencils into classrooms, and so we've been able to repurpose something that is waste to bridge the educational, or support the bridging of the educational gap in Nigeria. You can imagine the impact of that. So one of the things I'd like to leave us with is we need to begin to look inwards and see how do we meet or solve the problems that we have on a daily basis. First, before we begin to think about the big things, sometimes it's just as simple as, in my organization, I'm not going to entertain anybody with bottled water. So you have fresh jars, and quite a number of hotels do it abroad. I don't know why we can't adopt it in Nigeria. So it begins with just starting with the simple things and then scaling to a level that helps us to achieve the kind of results that we are looking for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just, I don't know if she's still online.
Is she there?
Sylvia,
Yes.
do you have any final thoughts in just like
30
30
seconds.
seconds?
Yes, 30 seconds.
As we close the panel.
I think just quickly, thank you very much. And it's been incredibly lively discussion, and I feel lucky to have listened in. I just say that sustainability, underscore it's just there are a lot of opportunity there, and what the woman before me just mentioned about the ability to localize it and to make it make sense for you and for your organization, for your product, for your brand. And just really keep considering the opportunities of it and what it can mean for all of your companies. So thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And on that note, I would say a huge thank you to all the panelists. We'll do like photographs.
Yes, a group photo. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sylvia, for joining. I know it's pretty early where you are. We appreciate you. Thank you all.
Please, if you're clapping, clap better for them. Thank you so much. That was engaging. So we didn't have time to look online, but we had about 25 people watching online, and they've also been sharing comments on our YouTube channel, and they want to say thank you, Adobe Ogudo, Oyibo Ogale, and Oyetola Jadun. We must thank you so much. We see all the interactions. Abayomi Olatunji, thank you so much. We see all the interactions on our YouTube channel. We want to say thank you for joining online, as we're indeed grateful, but we sincerely apologize because of time. We can't take some of your comments. But please, ladies and gentlemen, this panel was indeed wonderful. Do you want to give them a round of applause again, just to appreciate them for the time and that, very detailed conversation? Where SMEs meet the money, and I know that Mr. Korede Oluwole had mentioned there's an event coming up soon at the Moson Center where those big corporations will be coming, and let's see how SMEs can get the money. So you want to talk to Mr. Korede maybe after the event to see how you can also benefit from that. But ladies and gentlemen, just use this final moment as we wrap up to talk to you about one of our SME initiative by the Compact Network in Nigeria here. Please, if I have the house, one house, please. This initiative directly supports our collective goal at the UN Global Compact SPARK program. This initiative is specifically designed to support SMEs, suppliers, and sustainability and their sustainability journey, enhancing their supplier chain resilience, generally just to support what they do. We'll have a video just to give you more context. Please, one house, please, so that we are still together. I know we have spent quite a time and we're wrapping up. But DJ, if you want to play the video, please.
Welcome to the SPARK community. Here at the UN Global Compact, we recognize the vital role of small and medium enterprises, or SMEs. You are the heartbeat of economies. Your businesses create jobs, help alleviate poverty, and advance sustainable development in your communities. But we also know that SMEs face significant challenges in their sustainability journeys, including lack of access to financing, vulnerability to disruptions and inflation, and problems navigating complex regulatory environments. And that's why SPARK is designed to help SMEs address these challenges and drive positive change. Our goal is to help you demystify complex business and sustainability concepts and provide opportunities to exchange best practices with innovative SMEs worldwide. All of our SPARK resources are easily accessible in multiple languages here at our learning platform. You can participate in live workshops and access on-demand courses on topics such as adopting net zero practices, securing financing, promoting inclusivity, and meeting sustainability reporting requirements. As you get started, I encourage you to set some key goals for your SPARK journey. First, identify specific sustainability practices you want to better understand and implement. Second, connect with other SMEs to share and learn innovative solutions. And finally, track your progress and share your achievements. Welcome aboard. Together, we can build a more sustainable SME ecosystem and a more resilient global community.
All right. Thank you so much. I guess if you have more questions on the Spark, you can talk to the team just after the event. They'll be outside. But ladies and gentlemen, you agree with me, it's been a very productive day. And one thing you take out from all our conversation today is how can we localize all of the effort? How can we collaborate? How can we work together to indeed achieve more? How can the private sector do much more? To leave the talk and indeed do more. We can start from the little things, like the closing remark from IHS said, from the very little things from one of us. But thank you so much for the time, for staying with us all through today. This way we call it a wrap, but we hope that the conversation continues within you and of course amongst yourself, and we see how we can drive more. It's been a pleasure. My name is Wisdom Chap Jumbo. I'm a TV presenter and the host of the Energy Outlook TV show. I'm very happy to be here and I wish you a very productive day. Have the rest of the day. Thank you so much. Thank you. And we may need to also go through here. We have a special pack. It's a bit rainy outside, so we want you to use this exit. And the team is just here outside and they'll be giving you your pack as you step out. Okay. A group photo also want to invite the IHS team and also the UN Global Compact Network Nigeria team. I understand we need to take a group photo here, if we're there. So let's